Many have been marveled by the incredible stories of massive development emanating from Borno State in recent times. A city plagued by decade-long conflict has continued to show optimism and hope of becoming the shining light of the Sahel region. Welcome to Borno Restoration. I'm Jessie Tafida. But first, let's bring you up to speed with Borno Today. There has been recent resurgence of the coronavirus pandemic, cholera and malaria across the country. But government at all levels is stepping up to ensure that the citizens are protected from contracting such diseases. Today, the Borno State government has commenced the fumigation of markets and other strategic places across the state. The Commissioner for Environment, Kakashehu Lawan, flagged off the exercise.
The exercise is to be carried out in phases. A timetable has been drawn. Each and every day, a particular neighborhood would be visited and fumigated. Now, all sorts of chemicals, substances that made up pesticides are available in the stores. We are going to curb mosquito and fight malaria. We are also going to be very proactive with a view to averting any pandemic like cholera or any other unknown or known diseases.
The State Environmental Protection Agency is in charge of the fumigation exercise. Residents and business owners say the exercise is coming at the right time. They promise to complement efforts of government by maintaining good hygiene. He says this is a good development by the state government, and we believe it will go a long way in curbing the spread of cholera and COVID-19. This one says, I sincerely want to appreciate this gesture by the government. I believe it's for the good of the state, and we will ensure to play our part in curbing the spread of diseases. The exercise is expected to reach out to other places such as IDP camps. Nigerian military forces have continued to battle the 12 years of Boko Haram insurgency and other forms of criminality across the state. This has yielded positive results, with many insurgents now surrendering to security forces and drastic reduction of criminal activities in the state being recorded. Collaborating with other security agencies is part of its mandate and prompts this visit by the theater commander Operation Hadinkai to the state command of the NDLEA. He makes a grand entry into the premises, but the purpose of his visit is simple. He is here to extend the bond of relationship between his command and that of the NDLEA so as to win the war against terrorism and criminality. He also uses the medium to bring the public up to speed on the recent mass surrender of Boko Haram terrorists.
We know what drugs does to individuals, and we know how it also enhances criminality. ISWAP is here to occupy our land, and which we will never accept. We'll ensure that those ones that are willing to surrender will surrender, and those ones that are unwilling will take the next line of action.
On his part, NDLEA Borno State Commandant Joseph Icha appreciates the visit by the theater commander, describing it as a step forward in the fight against terrorism and criminality. He notes that the command in the last 1 year has made seizures of over 16,000 kilograms of assorted hard drugs arrested in Maiduguri and Biu, and is expecting to do more.
Of recent, we have discovered that hard drugs is what generally motivates people to commit very violent crime. We have a facility for counseling and rehabilitation. and that those that are challenged with drug abuse should come forward and utilize this facility.
With this strong synergy being pursued between Operation Hardin Kai and the NDLEA, residents believe that the illicit use of drugs will be reduced to the barest minimum. There can never be socio-economic development without security. This is the philosophy behind Professor Babagana ZULUM'S commitment to security of lives and property of Borno residents as the fulcrum of its 10-pact development agenda. Let's take this report. In July 2009, the Boko Haram insurgency began in Borno State and spread to other northeast states of Nigeria, claiming hundreds of lives of security agents and civilians. The following year, frequent attacks in the northeast and other parts of the country, including bombings, mass shooting and executions, began to rise, and Borno State became the epicenter of hostilities. At the peak of the insurgency in 2014 and 2015, the Northeast had become a no-go area. Many were advised to avoid the region, especially Borno State. But thereafter, the number of casualties attributed to the terror group fell dramatically. The Nigerian military, with assistance from Benin, Cameroon, Chad and Niger, pushed Boko Haram out of several provinces it occupied in northeastern Nigeria. After about 12 years of the protracted conflict, Borno State, the epicenter of Boko Haram insurgency, is fast becoming a safe haven again. The city of Maiduguri is now back to life. The state government has built many mega schools and primary healthcare centers, constructed roads, and returned internally displaced persons to their ancestral homes. Thanks to the continuous efforts of the military and the Borno state government, which has taken security as the most critical part of its developmental agenda. From the first day in office in 2019, Professor Babagana ZULUM hit the ground running with robust engagement with the military and other security agencies. He continued to lend unending support to the military in the areas of logistics, excavation trenches, and payment of allowances to officers on battlefield. In early 2020, Governor ZULUM released 70 new surveillance vehicles to support the Nigerian Army, police, and volunteers in the Civilian Joint Task Force, JTF, and hunters involved in the war against Boko Haram terrorists in the region. The vehicles were released at the launch of a Rapid Response Squad security outfit to combat crimes in the state. Some of the vehicles are being used by the hunters and civilian JTF for patrol operations on major highways in the state, especially the Maiduguri-Damboa Road. The highway has been reopened since 2020 after 13 months of closure following the gains recorded by the military.
We have started witnessing gradual return of peace to Borno State. Through our prayers, Almighty Allah has answered our prayers, inshallah. But what we shall do, we shall never be reluctant. We shouldn't say that we have started witnessing gradual return of peace in Borno State. That would jeopardize our intentions. We shall be committed more than before. That is something which is very important. To this, government of Borno State will partner with the security agencies, the military, the paramilitary, with a view to providing robust security to the people of Borno State better than that of before. Borno State government has procured 3 armored personnel carriers. We are paid for the payment for procurement. And inshallah, in the next 6 months, government of Borno State will procure nothing less than 20 APCs. Furthermore, inshallah, we shall do everything possible to ensure that our main roads were open. We shall open our main roads.
Apart from logistic support, Governor Zulum has continued to render financial support to the families of soldiers who died in the line of duty and officers who sustained injuries. Governor Zulum's passion to see farmers go back to their farmlands after several attacks by terrorists is one of the reasons he has continued to support the agro rangers. The men, who are often volunteer hunters, are recruited by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC to give protection to farmers who are now happy to go back to their farmlands.
We are
thankful for the presence of the agro rangers. Before now, we couldn't go anywhere, but now we can go to our farms.
Since 2019, Professor Zulum has been engaging the services of thousands of hunters from different parts of the state to join volunteers in the civilian JTF and vigilantes. Recently, additional 1,000 hunters were inducted by the governor to join the others in the ongoing war against Boko Haram. The governor also increased the monthly allowances for all the volunteers, provided kits, surveillance tools, and hundreds of vehicles to the units in all the 27 local government areas of the state. The engagement of local hunters have become part of the success story of Borno State. Their active involvement in tackling security challenges in the state cannot be overstated.
So far, so good, so far, so commendable. Because compared to 2014, 2015, as of now, we can say that, the yesteryears is now coming back. If you come to Maiduguri and see in the past, 5 to 6 years to date, there is, marginal improvement.
As the issue of insurgency is not a one-man job, we all have put hand in deck so that we can see the end of this insurgency across not only in Borno State, but Northeastern State and Nigeria in general.
Borno, a state grappling with a decade-long insurgency, has continued to show optimism and hope that the restoration mission of Professor Babagana Zulum is unstoppable. Just like the phoenix rises above the ashes, the state is on the verge of reclaiming its lost glory as the home of peace and the pride of the Sahel. Let's bring you the second part of our interview with the Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum. I began by asking him his relationship with the military and the fight against insurgency. Take a listen.
While for those that have known me, it's normal for me to clash with them. Because whenever they did something wrong, I have to tell them. I have to notify them that they are going wrong. And whenever they did something right, I used to hail them. But honestly speaking, my relationship with the Chewa Hamid staff, including the Yusuf Buratai, he used to come to me, I used to go to his house, to his office, and then we had a cordial relationship. But what matters is the sanctity of the rights of the people of Borno. The sanctity of the rights of the people of Borno State need not to be compromised. Our relationship is different, but when it comes to saying the right thing, we have to say. For example, if a soldier wanted to, an army personnel, the military want to dislodge a community without a cogent reason, I cannot accept. When somebody is receiving bribe along the road, trying to block vehicular movement on the road, on the main road, I have to say something right. Try to prevent farmers to go to their farm land, I have to say something. But you have seen the recent successes that have been achieved by the Nigerian military in Damboa, in Bama, and other areas has been widely commended by my government. So we are doing well, but in the course of discharging my duties as the governor of Borno State, I have to say the right thing. And if they fail, I must say they fail. And I'm not afraid of anybody.
Right, so still talking security, you've made several recommendations of hiring machineries, bringing back the multinational joint task force. What other areas do you think should be explored to bring a lasting peace in this region?
I think there's one fundamental issue that we need to discuss. It's the issue of considering socio-economic and political dimensions of addressing the problem of insurgency in the state is very important. This issue is very important because the kinetic measures alone will never end the problems. We need to also look into the non-kinetic measures. That means there is a need for us to address the socio-economic and political dimensions of this crisis. How? One, we need to address the problem of poverty in the nation. We need to address the issue of unemployment. We need to address the issue of education, health, critical infrastructures like roads, agriculture. These are very key. And then again, we also have to look into the issue of issue of reintegration. We have to call upon the insurgents for them to embrace peace. Draw their attention for them to lay their arms. They should come to us so that we can discuss with them. Look into a political solution that will address the challenges, especially for those that are willing to repent, those that are willing to surrender, and we shall work with them. I think this is one way that we can address the issue. Yes, but again, the issue of the population also, while we are trying to address the issue of the repentant Boko Haram members, we need to look into the issue of the internally displaced persons whose parents and children were killed. If we want to support those that have repented, there's the need for us to also support the victims also. Yes.
Now you talked about poverty alleviation, and you have invested massively on vocational institute. I visited one at Muna, and I saw the kind of machineries put in place. What's the philosophy behind that establishment?
Again, we want to address the root causes of the insurgency, which are not limited to pandemic poverty, pervasive illiteracy and employment, among others. And that is why we created few vocational training centers in the state. And you have seen the vocational training center. It's not a glorified one. The vocational training center was well equipped. We spent nothing fewer than about 4 billion naira or even more to establish a vocational training center that has the capacity to provide training, 14 trades, training to our youths in the areas of 14 trades, ranging from electrical installations, tiling, plumbing, carpentry, among others. So my wisdom is to ensure that those that are trained, those that will be trained will become self-reliant. We don't want people to depend on government, and then we want to create jobs, create opportunities that people will be on their own. And that has informed the decision of the government of Borno State to establish more vocational training centers and also renovate the existing vocational training centers. So I think we budgeted not less than about 20 billion naira in order to rehabilitate and then establish new vocational training centers in the state within the span of my administration. And so far so good, we have started well. And it is also one of my electioneering promises to the people of Borno State. It's one of the agenda of my Tech Fact agenda.
Okay, now, Boko Haram means Western education has been forbidden. And then if someone comes to Borno State with the massive investment you have made in the education sector, I think there's a deliberate attempt to show the world that education is one of the fundamental thing you want children in Borno to have.
Some are joining the insurgents because of naivety. We thought if they are properly taught, they will not join them in the areas of, especially civic education, even Islamic education. There is no any form of education, be it Islamic or Western education, that allows, that preaches, banditry, or you get what I'm saying, or killings. And therefore, this administration is poised to inculcate very good programs and policies in the areas of education with a view to training many of our youths, unemployed youths, especially in the areas of out-of-school children. And that is why the government of Borno State has sent a bill to the State House of Assembly on the need to establish Sangha and Islamic educational system in such a way that the Sangha and Islamic system of education shall be streamlined into the formal educational system, which is very important, by teaching numeracy and literacy at the Sangha system, and most importantly, providing some kind of technical and vocational education to the Al-Majiri system of education.
Now, with your aggressive approach into the health sector, and not only equipping the state specialists, but building primary healthcare system in some strategic locations, in some local communities in Borno State, how are you planning to sustain this investment?
While government of Borno State wanted to implement all the decisions reached at Seattle, we call it Seattle Declaration. Last year, about 10 governors met in Seattle in USA and then adopted some par-regions recommendations that will revamp the healthcare sector, especially the primary healthcare system. We want to bring healthcare delivery closer to the doors of our own people. And one way to achieve this objective is to create access. And that is why the government of Borno State, within the last year, has built about 76 primary healthcare facilities in Borno State. Some are equipped, some are yet to be equipped. We have employed some medical personnel, we have employed some nurses. Over 400 nurses and health personnel were recruited. But most importantly, from this year to the last lap of my administration, we shall work hard to ensure that the primary healthcare centers are well equipped with personnel, because personnel is very important. Our education systems shall be well equipped with teachers, because these are areas that are still having some deficiencies that need to be addressed. And it's also one of the 10-fact agenda of this administration.
And that's our package on this edition of Borno Restoration. Thanks for watching. I'm Jessie Tafida. See you next time. Bye-bye.